Hopefully we got it right this time. We live. We live. We in there.
Good evening. Again.
Yeah, good evening. Nah, you know what I'm saying? Not even again, again. But not we ain't seen y'all in a long time. We ain't seen
Yeah.
y'all in a while, but we back.
It's been a
Take
long
two like a
time.
mug.
We shouldn't have left you
Don't do
without
that.
top up to step. Oh,
Don't do
okay.
it.
That's fine. I was getting us ready, getting us in the mood. What's up, Miss Maisha? Did you see the plug just hate on me deeply? I want to know if anybody else just saw what happened because I was trying to be a cheerleader for my favorite podcast, and this
Feel
man
me?
just shut me down.
Say
Like,
But
that.
the thing was though, I didn't
I,
know if I didn't know if I had it in me to be like, damn, can I? Nah, it's like you when you scared to jump in double dutch. You know what I'm saying? You know
Tell me
how
how you
that
feel
you know
about
how
that
that
one
go.
doing that.
Hey, but with that being said,
mm-mm.
How you feel about that? I don't know, man. Y'all ready to get into the night show? Talk some shit.
In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto. Me, my guys, we really live. Lord forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Lit off Henny when I drive. In the city, we gon' slide. Bet I be there pronto.
Yes, I know it's been a while.
I got some witnesses in the chat.
You know?
It's been a while before we get started.
In the
Damo
chat.
disrespected me. The plug disrespected me. Who seen it? Twinkle, Ari and Paul. We glad you slid in here. Scooby seen it. Maximum Tata seen it. New Nyambi E. Stanley seen it. Miss Maisha. Like it was the disrespect for me. But my bad. Consciously, please take it away. Please.
Hey, it's the consciously. You know, some people know me as George Lee, but don't forget the Lee. Usually consciously these days, man. But who I'm with?
Hey, it's your girl Toya G. Happy to be back with y'all. It's a Thursday, and the chop up is back in session. So pull up a seat, slide up through, let people know we a little late, but we never too late to tap in with y'all. And so we just glad to have you. You know what I'm saying? It's fall time, y'all. We moving through. What's up?
hey, we back, man. Summer is over. Unfortunately, my favorite season is approaching its end. But you know what I'm saying? Like we see back in session. We ready to get it in. Let's do it. Let's go.
We out here.
Yeah, man. So yes, we can go and jump right into the conversation because we ain't even got to waste no time getting into it at all. You know what I mean? In the comment section, make sure y'all keep it engaging with us. We're gonna be showing your comment on the screen. You know, take it off.
All right, bet. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this conversation about the black therapist because she has been commanding this conversation about her has been commanding on TikTok. It's been commanding my Twitter feed, and I don't know if you all have seen it, but I really do want to talk about this black woman therapist who has been seen on TikTok originally making a video calling out black men on not getting therapy, about not dealing with their feelings and emotion, and how it's really messing them up in the game and really turning them off as prospects to people who have done the work and who have done the emotional labor to get there. So I want to play the video for those who may have missed it or may not have seen it because remember, she's a licensed therapist. This is her private TikTok. And she is expressing what she feels like is the general kind of sentiment of a lot of black women in the dating pool right now, trying to see what's going on. So I want y'all to check this out. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. It's about 2 minutes, but I promise you, it's gonna be worth the 2 minutes and 20 seconds, so that we can get our conversation going. So let me do this. Share my screen right there. This video is available all across Twitter. Underscore Panama Gold is who I found who most recently shared it. So I'm gonna share their version of the video. Can y'all see that? Can I get a verbal confirmation?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Shout out to you, Ninja Tyler Black, man. We appreciate
My
that.
dog.
Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, let me play this clip real quick. Y'all tell me. We'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah.
Say you need to expand your emotional vocabulary. It's so your life can be easier. Don't you want to be able to communicate with your bitch? I think yes, right? Long gone are the days where you can just shut down. Bitches is not tolerating that. Like, it used to be where men provided financially or with schmeat, and bitches can make their own self come and we can pay for our own shit. So I'm gonna need y'all to catch up on the emotional part. If a bitch is telling you, I need you to communicate more, open your fucking mouth. But you know what I realized? And let me back up. A common misconception about me as a clinician is that 90% of my clientele have been men, black men specifically. And what we specifically work on is expanding their emotional vocabulary, because a lot of y'all motherfuckers don't even have the words to express how you're feeling. So when you expand your vocabulary and knowledge of what you are experiencing, because y'all are human beings who experience feelings and emotions and don't have to choke that shit down no more. Y'all ain't had to choke that shit down since 2016. Anyway, if y'all are not in therapy, expanding your emotional vocabulary, your life just off top is going to be more difficult. When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you expand your awareness of yourself. When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you understand how you can navigate in this bitch. This fucking weird-ass world that is so hard on y'all. Like, let's acknowledge that the world is very difficult for y'all, but y'all are not making it any easier, bruh. You're not. When bitches are telling y'all to go to therapy, it's not for us. It's for y'all sad motherfuckers. Go to therapy. Talk about that shit that's on your chest. You don't have to choke that shit down no more. Y'all are doing a disservice to yourself. And so let me sum this shit up. Y'all told bitches to elevate our standards, and at the cost of us elevating y'all standards, y'all got axed because y'all didn't elevate either. Bitches are not tolerating emotional abuse, emotional neglect. Step it up. Go talk to somebody. Go expand your emotional vocabulary so your life can be better, bitch. All right. Go and be.
Okay.
So, considering that, you know, she is a licensed clinician, she deals with Black men. 90% of her clientele or patients, clients, I don't really know the proper terminology, but the people that come to see her, patronize her, are Black men, and y'all are her target audience. Like, what is your initial reaction to how she just kind of came with that message?
Lee?
I think that she made a lot of points. I think that points were made.
She made points and points were made.
Okay.
Insightful.
Yeah.
And your perspective is that she was insightful.
Yeah.
No, I was talking. I was saying what he said was insightful.
Got it.
Yeah, I feel like now that I didn't watch the whole thing, you know what I'm saying, a couple times now, I can recognize how if people didn't like her delivery, there were ways for them to deviate outside the message and the points that were made for them to be able to talk about respectability politics, profanity, talk about, you know, feeling as if, you know, particular demographics should feel uncomfortable or feel threatened if they go up in it. Like, I understand how they can deviate out of it, but I think that it speaks volumes to the point that she was making. And I made a tweet before this show, and somebody commented with some random ass like little screenshot saying that, as I recall, there was a Black woman that actually reported her. And in my mind, it's like, even if it was a Black woman, we can go there with that uniqueness, but I still think there's volumes to be said that this woman was reported based off of just her message.
And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there for sure. But so Lee said, okay, it was a little rebel rousing, but at the same time, there was some validity there overall. Plug, what is your kind of initial visceral reaction to the message? Because a lot of people in the comments, I want to make sure I'm hollering at them. Let's see. Somebody says her arguments go out the window when she can't deliver her message properly. She's right, though. Somebody else followed up. Imani said, I don't like the way she's describing men and women. Larry McDonald said, right message, wrong delivery. And then I think there was another question here. Strock Vanderbilt says, sounds good till he too soft, weak, or always whine. And next thing you know, she's saying you can't even be a man. You a harsh language for, you know, a man, the B word. Right. So a lot of different takes. Plug, get in there. What was your reaction in response to that?
To be honest, like, when I first hear it, I think like this is like the landscape now. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is what you would come to expect when Kevin Samuels becomes the norm. Mm-hmm. Like, when I feel like,
and I'm gonna get there too. So
no, right. That's what I was gonna say. I wasn't gonna jump too far ahead and go deep into that, but in terms of what I mean is like this kind of language, this kind of dialogue is like it's welcomed. You know what I'm saying? It's championed, it's applauded. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Like, really on either side, because regardless of the circumstances, what you typically hear is well, it's the truth though. You know what I mean? And so, like, I feel like this is really what is to be expected in this dialogue, because specifically when the criticism is, we've been coddled. It's always about how, like, making black men feel good about themselves. Like, nah, feel bad and be okay with feeling bad, nigga. That's what mental health is. You know what I'm saying? And like that's what working through that is. You know what I mean? And so when I heard it, when I see it, because of just the relationship I have with social media, it was just like, huh, it's an interesting pendulum that we're seeing swinging here.
Okay, and so I guess, and Perfect Prophet, the homie, I think that's my brother Sheed in the comments sliding in talking to us. We're gonna get to Kevin Samuels because I believe he does actually have a lot to do with this conversation. But I guess so. My question then becomes, outside of the brash delivery, then, right? We can all kind of admit that it was like a little, maybe abrasive, but it depends, right? Because the lead talked about respectability and how we kind of get caught up in those tropes of being overly emphasized and overly worried and invested in maybe the tone, the texture, some of the extra language, and not really the message. But I think we can all agree that it was a little brash, right? I was called a bitch, and I'm not even. What did I do? How did I get here? But because I'm a woman, right. I was a certain way, and then men were MFers and this and that, so that became its own thing. And so, is you all's position that that what she was saying is basically valid? And if what she was saying was valid, should that matter more than anything? Are we just being too soft? Or and I guess because a woman reported her, do you think women kind of
allegedly? I like I didn't get the tweet I read. It was like allegedly. To like, bro.
Yo, so I have an interesting take on this, right? I think she's actually 150% correct.
Okay, 100%.
The reason why I know this is, like, I was a shy kid coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, I wanted to find my place. I read books. Yeah, I was, I spoke. I was on the debate team. I did that type of shit. I needed to find my space in blackness. You know what I'm saying? When it came to like meeting women in college, I wanted to find my lane. Like, I wasn't an athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't all of those other things. I needed to find my lane. What I found was being able to hold conversation, just dialogue, right? Meeting up and talking throughout the night, right? Just doing that alone did wonders. It was like, yo, like, I'm getting calls back. I mean, I'm getting people interested. Like, women were really just taken aback by the fact that, like, I'm willing to just kind of sit and just talk. Yeah, I was actually too shy to actually do anything, but because it was like I was a good speaker, like, man, like we just conversed. And so while I learned, like, okay, well, this is my lane, right? At the same time, I'm like, damn, the bar is low. Like, just being able to, like, just have an honest, and engaging conversation is enough for women. Like, thank you, this is refreshing. Exactly. Like, damn, like, y'all don't get conversation. These niggas don't know just how to engage, you know what I'm saying, in a way that's not something that's physical, just like on that type of level. It was like, yo, this is wild.
I'm waiting on Toy to keep the conversation going, because right now I'm ready to just, because at this point I'm ready to come down.
Well, I mean, I think, it's interesting that Damo kind of points out, or the plug points out that, women are like interested in and find desire and meaning in men who are able to share and kind of express themselves and stuff like that. And that's all well and cool. But for the ones who are a little bit slower to the curve, I think my really is how she delivered that message, one that entices them and wants them to lean in, right? I was kind of talking to my students today about, just in terms of comm study and comm theories, the differences in gender communication. What did we understand about gender communication is men or more masculine individuals communicate for report, right? They want to report. They hear about the facts. They kind of want it in their face, cut to the chase, don't fluff it up, just kind of get me there. Whereas women communicate for rapport, right? They want to and have, communicative goals and outcomes that they want to achieve, but they're going to get there by creating a feeling of inclusion, of being heard, of being seen, of making sure those other, what people would assume to be secondary or tertiary features of communication are met, right? You want to feel like you're going to get your turn, or that you don't have to hurry up and rush to get to the point and stuff like that. Like, we want to feel comfortable as we exchange. And so I kind of think about that because, a lot of people were up in arms about that. a lot of people in the comments saying, and we've all been there, like, it's not what you said, it was how you said it. That turned me off. I'll completely not do what you told me to do because of the delivery. The delivery turned me off so bad. I'm just militantly not going to do what you said. And so I think it's interesting that we find ourselves there a lot. But in this particular instance, y'all are like, nah, she's cool. So I'm gonna go to my next question. And this kind of gets at what Perfect Prophet was kind of trying to get away from, which is Kevin Samuels, but I think it's valid. So let's talk about Kevin Samuels real quick. Men seem to accept tough love from other men, i.e. Kevin Samuels, right? When everybody was up in arms about him, it was like, the men was like, man, he talk to us crazy all the time. We don't get mad. We don't get upset. And that was the biggest argument for why Kevin Samuels fans were like, it's all
valid. Don't get mad at him talking about women, talk about men too.
It's like y'all only mad because he's telling the truth. That was the response.
So why do you feel like there was so much outcry and frustration when it came from a woman? Right? Because it seemed to be, and I guess my second question is, for men who love Kevin Samuels and hate her delivery and feel like it was too much or a little bit too extra, do you feel like that's a contradiction? Like, how do we hold her up versus what Kevin Samuels is selling black men? Are they the same? Are they different? Like, what do y'all think?
Oh, I mean, now if we're thinking about it in the way in which it interacts with specifically, like, even the most generic Kevin Samuels way of thinking, right? That comes with a certain understanding of how a woman should behave. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, all right, even if she's telling the truth, a woman shouldn't be talking like that. Like, a woman shouldn't be using that type of rhetoric.
I feel like that's
a woman shouldn't, like, yeah, and then it's like, especially if you saying your audience are men. Why you talking about? You know, a man ain't gonna want you to talk to him like a man like that. So it don't even make sense. Like, you trying to get a message to me in a way that you know I'm not gonna be receptive to. You know what I mean? But you trying to make a point in your frustration, in your crass nature. You're trying to make a point. You know what I mean? But you know that point is something that's antagonistic to me and how I think, you know, and how I receive messages. So it's like the way that it interact with that logic, ain't no contradiction. Like, yes, he's making a statement and he's not, you know, like loud and using all this language. He was actually pretty eloquent in his dialogue, in his speech, right? Like he even the way he presented himself was very put together. You know what I mean? And so,
he was like, so let me get it right. You ain't making no money. Your dick is small. You're 5'7". What are you doing for yourself? You don't go to the gym. You know, like, he was like pretty mean to them. So yeah, like,
he was mean, but he wasn't crass though.
That was crass.
To me, I think it's a contrast. To me, I think that it illustrates a very crazy, nuanced, you know what I'm saying, like, type of like tension, contradiction. Because in many instances, a lot of the claims that Kevin Samuels was making and how he was able to grandstand, he really didn't have a lot of background in many different instances to make those claims. You feel me? So in terms of, it's what I mean. Mm-hmm. The black therapist, the black woman that's a therapist, she has the expertise to say that you should do this and you should do that. You feel me? The double-edged sword that kind of illustrates the contradiction is now she's being held to a higher standard in the claims that she made because she did it in a way that it was like, hey, it wasn't the actual letter that you said, but it was how you put it in the envelope. It wasn't what you said, but how you said it. And it's like you pointed to how Kevin Samuels was getting at it. And, you know, a lot of times we would talk about like, hey, yeah, you don't like it. He say the truth and it hurt your feelings. Well, in many instances, what she's being criticized for is because what she said and how she said, we've all acknowledged it. It was brass. But we also acknowledged that the reason why we didn't like Kevin Samuels shit in many different instances, because it was like, fam, not only is this brass, this seems ill-advised and self-serving in what you're getting at.
Plug, I want you there's a comment I want to get to. Go ahead.
I'll do it. Fuck it. I'll do it. The difference though is with her being a professional, she does have an understanding of what black men positively respond to and what black men negatively respond to. She would have to. Like, they are her clientele. Mm-hmm. This means that she knows that her approach is antagonistic. She knows that. And so if she knows that in a lot of ways, black men don't respond positively to those type of interactions, specifically when they come to women, when it comes to black women criticizing them and telling them they wrong, or that's why it's how the delivery shit is so important, because it's like, what was more important, making the TikTok video and going viral, or actually getting the message across?
That part. And see, that's where my personal opinion is that it just undermined her credibility, right? Like, just as somebody who studies public speech, public address, how you kind of deal with kind of people on multimedia platforms, even looking at Lee's brand, right? And how he's developed what the Conscious Lee represents, the kind of moving away from this over professionalism, this over respectability, but I'm gonna still make sure I'm coming with facts and information and research. And I'm very delicately, very neatly kind of suturing this together. Now, I'm not saying she need to walk around and be like Conscious Lee. I just feel like there's this niche kind of approach and strategy on social media, specifically on TikTok. Like, I watch fitness people who like cuss you out the whole time. They like, you fucking wondering why you can't lose no goddamn weight, and it's because you out here eating fucking and like, that's a part of what makes it captivating and gets likes and gets views. And so it's like, yeah, you do have a portion of a population who speaks like that commonly, but those same people, and I think somebody commented this, like, you act like the message wouldn't have been received without all the rest of that. Like, yeah, there are people who are intrigued and captivated by you cussing every other word when you talk about a workout regimen or going to therapy. But those same people, if you were more strategic with your cuss words, with the placement of, like, I think that just goes with being an effective speaker, right? Somebody who engages an audience is to not kind of make me feel, but I do recognize, and let me complete my sentence, not make me feel like I'm being lambasted and accosted and attacked when I should be inspired, right? But I'm not a fan of I'm gonna make a brand out of myself by trying to cuss the most about something that really ain't got nothing to do with the energy and the vibe that I'm trying to give to it. Like, it just seems, her presentation of it just seemed, you know how people just like, you don't even cuss like that. You just try. I remember in middle school and high school.
like the folk that just learned how to cuss.
Yeah,
like,
you know what I'm saying?
You clearly just,
it's like, you don't even talk like that, really.
You don't even talk like that for real. You know what I'm saying? But you sneaking in as many possible cuss words in as many places as you can to put some teeth in it. And I'm just not buying it. Now, I want to close out this part of the conversation so we can move to another topic. The last question I want to leave y'all on is about what ultimately happened with her, right? The jury is still out on who told, on how many people told, who really led the campaign to get her fired from her job. But apparently she was fired from being a therapist. She made a lot of interesting which sucks, right? She made a lot of interesting points in the video about, in a follow-up video about how, you know, it didn't just affect her, but it affected her clients. A lot of people lost their lifeline, their support system, the person that they were depending on for their healing and for their evolution out of their issues. So y'all doxing her and getting her fired didn't just affect her. It affected a whole lot of other people that you didn't think about, on top of her being evicted. There's a whole bunch of stuff, right? Tyler says she just unlocked cussing. I'm done with you. But I guess my question is, does the punishment fit the crime? Like, considering she is a therapist and her job is to inspire and motivate people to think about and change their perception of things, to be empowered, to make changes, to do all those things. And because that was her personal TikTok, did she need to lose her job about that? Do y'all think it was too much or overkill for people to go and call for her employment? What do y'all think?
I think it was overkill for people to go call for employment. I reckon, and too, I would even go to the extent to say that it kind of shows how black women are measured at a different point from when, you know what I'm saying, when you fall, when you have outbursts. I feel like the comment I was put up there, I think that, like, no shade, I think she made that video at the point where she was just fed up. And I felt like the way that she was penalized for being fed up is kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? I think about it. It's a whole bunch of law enforcement teachers that do crazy, wild shit. You feel me? And they get put on paid administrative leave or something like that. You know what I'm saying? She lost her whole job. You know what I mean? Because of a video that was so sensationalized in a way that it made it where employers had to distance themselves and say, man, we don't agree with nothing she said so much, we're gonna fire her ass. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like a lot of the hoopla around it was people that was a part of the manosphere, red pill, blue pill, green pill shit, you feel me, that's talking about being real and being true about gender roles and accountability and all that old shit. So to me, I feel like, you know, Yeah.
I'm like this is the thing when we talking about black people and whether or not like the punishment fit the crime. I don't think we ever gonna feel like the punishment fit the crime because I think we recognize how the hand is just that much heavier when the body black. You know what I mean? And so I think what this highlights is how when popular culture adopts what's significant to us, like when the media is making a big deal about people getting fired because they was being racist at work, because they said something racist at work, because they said they did some things that made somebody uncomfortable, they was insensitive and they lost their job, right? We always know when something starts to get policed, it's always gonna find its way down to where we at. And so I think she was a victim of cultural retaliation to where it's like, if it makes sense in this instance, it makes sense in this instance. And when you have black people specifically push it, like, fighting for this cause, like black men saying, nah, she shouldn't be talking like that, and she's a professional, a black woman that's actually putting out the articles and the material and making sure that this information is out in the forefront, then that validates it even more for them to be like, yeah, let's get her on up out of there. Because now it's out, even the black people want her out, and like, okay, cancel culture is the thing, right? She got her ass canceled. Now I'm the thing. Again, that hand is never really justified because of the way power dynamics work. Mm-hmm. But in this case, this is why that shit always end up, what I'm saying, backfiring on us and impacting us in ways that fuck us over.
Okay. Now my opinion, and I'll close it out here, might diverge just slightly, I think in degrees from y'all, because I'm not never gonna say a black woman should lose her livelihood, especially when she didn't disclose somebody's specific information. She wasn't like, gratuitous about where she worked or the type of clients or telling people specific stories or nothing like that. She didn't violate. I think HIPAA probably still applies here. Any of those agreements. However, I agree with a lot of people. I think Infinite Blink is kind of dropping some heat just in terms of understanding how cancel culture works and what you kind of got to be prepared for and understanding. And I think there's some other people, somebody else posed this, and I can't scroll through. I don't want to lose time looking who said it, but somebody made a very valid point that I want us to remember. And that is that she runs the risk of alienating her black clients, her black male clients that she has, right? I would feel uncomfortable potentially if I knew that my black woman therapist that I was going to for hope, for healing, to piece together, to be introspective, to reflect on, really thought I wasn't worth shit, right? When it's all said and done, right? That I'm just a project to be working on that makes her feel better about saving black men, because without her work and without what she thinks is the most important for me and best for me, that I'm not really worth a lot, right? I would be concerned that my therapist looks at me like an MF, like somebody who is just kind of a hopeless cause, that is one of a lump sum of a whole group of people who, like, that would kind of bother me. You know what I'm saying? A little bit. And so I think where I don't think she should have lost her job, but I think there needs to be some type of reckoning. I think there needed to be some type of reckoning, maybe not to the point where she was unemployed, but to just kind of be like, baby, okay, don't call yourself a clinician online anymore. Like, don't associate what you do for a living with the message you're talking about. And also, you can talk about mental health without doing it from as a professional standpoint. There are a lot of black people and black women and black men who are talking about how important these conversations are without tying it to what they do every day, without tying it to like an actual practice, without talking about the people that they see and they talk to, because what she's basically saying is the people who come to my office are hopeless. Right? They need help. I'm seeing the same patterns all the time, but nobody's getting better and nobody's fixing that shit. And if I got an appointment with you on Wednesday, like, how should I feel when I show up? Like you was talking about me, huh? Like, I know, like, everything that I would say to you would then have to be kind of a filter through kind of, I don't want you to think I ain't shit. I don't want you to make your next video about me. Like, right. I just worry about how you alienate the people under your care. And she clearly cares about them. Her video she made when she was crying, talking about how she lost their patients and their patients lost, one of their support systems, was really serious to her. It's just like, you got to think about that, baby. You on social media. You trying to do too much to be captivating to get clicks instead of blessing the people who just happen to come across your content. Like, you've lost sight of what you really need to be doing as somebody being a clinician. So that's just my take, right? I feel bad for her, and I'm not gonna say anybody should lose a bag, but you needed some reckoning and some redirection.
The last point I want to make on what you said though is, I think one thing that we learned at an early age is we got all of that initial rough angst out in our early years of debate.
Mm-hmm.
Like just our whole F the world, like everybody tear it all down. We was able to get that out, you know what I'm saying, in more productive ways than a lot of other people are. And so what we seeing happening now is as our culture becoming more conscious, as it becomes more woke in a productive fashion. I'm not abandoning that word. I'm not giving it up to conservatives at all. As we become more woke and we become to understand more of the ways in which these labels create the world that we live in, you feel me? Like that angst is understandable, but we gotta do it responsibly. You know what I mean? And
it's like a really privileged opportunity to really buffer and refine the anger, disdain.
Not responsibly, refined. That's a better way. That's a better term. Refined is a better term.
You have more time to do it and a special place to do it in. And let me say this, because I want to be clear. I feel bad about not researching her name. We've called her the Black therapist lady, and this Black woman has a name. She's experienced things. She's gone through things. So charge it to my head and not my heart that I've kind of uncentered her as a person. She's not just this person to be talked about and to be unpacked. She's a person with a body and a name, and I just don't know her right now. So I'm sorry. But we got love for her. Everybody needs to grow from this experience in this moment. And I'm done with my child.
What I'm going to go ahead and take it next? Yeah, George, you gotta be quick on the so just to let y'all know, George finally he got the sound effects. You know what I'm saying? He got the soundboard. You know what I mean? So if y'all hear some random sound effects, just know he tuning, he fine tuning it, he getting it together. He get this timing right, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to the homie Tyler, Justice for Black Therapists, lady.
This man is wild.
Hey, but with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and move into the political chop. It's a few interesting things that's happening that's going on in our political world today, because we are in an election season. For those who don't know, as much as in more recent years, midterm elections have garnered a lot more popularity than they have in the past, but we still don't see these exact same amount of turnout. So, but it's still significant, right? And it's a few things that's been going on, a few chess pieces that's been moved across the political game board.
Because they've been getting towed up by the people.
It was stale for a minute there. It was stale for a minute there. So I want to look at some of these moves that's taking place amongst Democrats with Joe Biden and all of that. And I want to get Shabri Rawls. Justice for Shabri.
Yeah.
Shabri Rawls, man. Hope she get a job. We can get some good livings.
But back to the Democrats. Yeah.
So I want to get y'all thoughts on these moves and where it positions, because y'all some politically apathetic motherfuckers. Excuse my language, but like that. Yeah, I mean when it comes to this realm.
Didn't we just talk about how we shouldn't let that cost the people we're trying to reach out to? We're sorry.
I mean, but it's the reality, right? Like all right. So let me be more respectable. Y'all really don't care a lot, right? And so I want to. These are some moves.
Is that better to you?
He took some of the gangster out of it, so it's like he just can't find no happy medium. What he mean to say is that y'all don't give a shit, and it's sad, because y'all just not doing right by the system. But go ahead, please.
But we get in there, right? We get in there. So I want to take a look at some of these moves. You know what I'm saying, and see if it moves the needle for y'all. Right, if it's strategic to the point where you like, I'm feeling it. You know what I'm saying, and now we can get that shit out of there. Now, I want to start. This may be a little cheating, just a little bit, but I want to start with student loan forgiveness.
Of course, the new hotness.
Yes, that's been because that was an up and down thing. That's been going on. Just a quick to let y'all know the way that it's going down. People who are single earn under $125,000 qualify for a $10,000 in debt cancellation. If you marry and you file jointly, and you are under $250,000, then you qualify for that $10,000 in debt cancellation. Mm-hmm. Eligibility will be based on adjusted gross income. Income figures for either 2020 or 2021 can render you eligible, but 2022 income will not. If you received a Pell Grant and meet these income requirements, you could qualify for an extra $10,000 in cancellation. And one thing that I think that's important to note is even if you did not finish your degree, you may still qualify.
That's awesome. That's a big
There you go. All right. Yeah, my boy get this timing. So with that being said,
I want to talk about one more feature of it that's important. Because I don't know. I still need to figure out whether or not it deals with the interest or the principal and how that kind of plays out. Because I think there has been a lot of back and forth about whether or not this bill actually deals with a lot of interest that people accumulate on the principal loan that then gets them right back where we started in a couple years, or whether or not it stops that type of accumulation of the debt. But we're gonna see.
Yeah, I think it's still some details that are coming out, but it's there, right? It's finally boom. We got a real number. We having a real solid conversation. So in y'all eyes, it's $10,000. You could get an extra $10,000 if you got Pell Grants. Does it move the needle? Is it strategic? Does it get you out the vote? Does it get you excited for Democrats in November?
No. That's not what he said. He said undergraduate loans will be forgiven across the board. He said that we were supposed to be good in the neighborhood and that this was not supposed to be. It's not what he said.
But dude, I found a dude though that said otherwise though. They said that he never said that, and that we actually getting Joe Biden mixed up with Elizabeth Warren and
Bernie Sanders and what they were promising.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders, because he always said 10,000. And I know listen. I know that when I fact checked it, you feel me? I couldn't find no clip, no nothing. All I could find is him saying 10. You feel me?
Well, then let me give a new warrant for my argument. It's not enough, largely because I don't think it deals with the median amount of student loans that exist. Like there are people in 6-digit student loan debt. And so I think this $10,000 is a drop in the bucket. And this goes back to my original point about if it doesn't deal with the way that interest accumulates on these loans, because there's people who my loans should be much less than what they are now. And I still owe about how much I did when we first started this process. And so if there's not a way to mediate the way that interest compounds and impacts your overall lump sum that you owe, then this is all for naught. And a lot of people are going to be in the same position in a couple of years where the needle is not moving enough because like it's not helpful. And I'm gonna tell you another reason why it's a slap in the face and why it's not enough is because we keep sending money to Ukraine, and I'm sick of that shit. And so I can get excited, and you can try to get me excited all you want to about the money that we are losing or not having to pay for student loans anymore. But that could be a whole lot more if we wasn't taking a whole lot of our money and sending it elsewhere. And so I have a problem with the tension between the decisions being made domestically and the ones that are being made consistently. I'm talking about multiple multi-million, billion-dollar budgets and checks being written for a war that we're not directly a part of. So I'm good on that.
I want to get y'all thoughts on this in terms of a conversation that's the most prevalent conversation around student loans forgiveness, and that is the people that already paid off their student loans.
Mm-hmm.
Is it unfair to them? Let's just put it out there. Is it unfair for people who already paid off their loans? You know what I'm saying? For people who was just like whether they chose not to pay it, whether they couldn't afford to pay it, whatever, they ain't pay it. And so now they getting money, you know what I'm saying, for not doing something when people who actually did it and worked off and became, strategized and was able to get that shit taken care of, they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Should they get some type of reparations? Should they get it 10,000 just to hold on to what?
No, I think that to me, I feel like the people that make those comments usually are some pseudo economists. So if you really feel that way about the economy and that everybody should be able to pay the way they would, this, that, and the other, then that should definitely extend to you, especially you. So in my mind, like, congratulations, you paid off all your student loans, and that somebody else has been blessed, you feel me, to be able to not have to pay yours, but you stimulate the economy and whatever. But to me, I feel like it's just like, to me, it just sounds like you selfish. self-centered, selfish, and you type person that feel like if I had to struggle, then you gotta struggle too. And it's like, man, get your sorry ass on somewhere.
I mean, and I think this is terrible when we look at how much this impacts entire generations and the collective good for everybody. It's like there's a lot of things that we do as people who are taxpayers. There's a lot of things we do as individuals who have the capacity to vote that, you know, pulls the weight of other people. It's just a part and a component of how we work and kind of function in these societies. I think a lot of the Republicans' talking points are, you know, that it's not fair for farmers and blue collar workers and this, that, and the other to be paying and taking on the burden of Wall Street analysts and brokers and all these people in these high power positions and the student loans they took on. But I don't think that it's just realistic or reasonable to look at somebody like me and say, I don't deserve the opportunity and try to compare me to that Wall Street banker. Like, why does that have to come in? Like, why am I in it? This is what Nene asked. Like, why am I in it? Why do I deserve not to be able to benefit from the contributions that I'm making to my community and my society on a day-to-day basis? This is one of the least of the things that the state need to be doing to be responsive to the hard work and the contributions that we make every single day, money being taken out of our checks. Like, at some point, the scale just got to balance itself. And if you had to pay your dues, it's what it is, right? Like, when there are things that we vote for in our society that don't take effect or don't get activated until generations later and don't affect people until way down the line, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to get cooked by climate change. State of California said in 2035, they can no longer make gas-powered vehicles. That ain't going to help me worth shit. I'm already out here cooked, right? But I'm going to make decisions and I'm going to fall in line with these mandates largely because they are law, but also because it's going to help future generations. So it's just kind of how it works. I don't understand what else you want. Besides, people make sacrifices to set people up.
And too, last thing I say, that idea doesn't apply or doesn't seem well in any other context. Yeah. Imagine, I pay full rent. How dare somebody else be on HUD? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Think about it. I pay full lunch for my child. How dare somebody else be on free and reduced lunch?
But you know, I think where we see the biggest contradiction, especially coming from Republicans, this is why, like the political dialogue, specifically on just whether it's social media or whatever, just be so full of shit. Is that you don't hear that same rhetoric when we bailing out banks. You don't hear that same rhetoric when we bailing out the auto industry, the big guys. You know what I'm saying? The billionaire companies already, when they be having record profit, but they laying people off. We don't hear that same rhetoric about the working class, right? We don't hear the same rhetoric about who it impacts when these people get in money, specifically when it's organizations, groups, and industries that don't need it, right? Why can't we let the banks, you know what I'm saying, break up and, you know, mess up these monopolies?
And I guess, I mean, outside of the obvious reason, you have lobbyists, you have people with power in the hands of corporations, you have the ability and the benefits of a lot of these conversations going only a certain way. But I just never understood the functionality or the need to have an entire society be economically hamstrung like this. Like, and to know that if you were to alleviate a lot of these debts, that you would have people injecting money like never before into the economy, that they would be able to invest in all of this new technology like green tech and this, that, and the other. There would be so much of a larger appetite to really evolve this nation and keep up with places like Japan and places like China. Like, we would really have a real crack at it. But it does us a disservice to have such a huge portion of our population be dependent on a college education to even be able to participate in American society functionally, to do so in a world where they can still be subject to living in poverty and then have debt that you know that they can't pay back, but you still gonna hold over their head instead of just wiping it away and giving everybody the opportunity to contribute to a functional new era, new kind of wave of what the American society is trying to do to compete with these other countries. Like, that's where it's just like, I don't get it. And the thing is, it ain't like zero money is going to go to corporations or the possibility of bailing them out ever, forever, and ever. Man is gone. It's just spreading some of what we can do and codifying the law and make possible to the average person. So the math don't be mathing on me when I look at the decision makers and how they come to their conclusions. But what do I know?
But that's a great point. And actually, when you talk about injecting that money into the economy, we are dealing with inflation right now. And I want to keep this one quick because this part of the political chop is a lot easier to deal with because we are dealing with inflation, and out of that, the Biden administration has been able to pass the Inflation Reduction Act with even it passed in the Senate with a majority or with on a 50-50 split.
The Inflation Reduction Act. What y'all
Kamala
inflating?
Harris, you know what I'm saying? Kamala Harris, you know what I'm saying? She said, "Nah, we passing that." You know what I mean? They got that through. So the question that I want to ask Toya, Inflation Reduction Act, does it reduce inflation?
No. And I think that is the dumbest thing about the Inflation Reduction Act is, let me be clear, just in case y'all like, inflation reduction? Inflation is terrible right now. Why did I know anything about this? It's because it does not do a thing to lower inflation. Literally no part of it. It's a misnomer in nomenclature, right? It is just completely misleading in how it has been identified and named because it matters to you not. The changes and influences of it will barely reach your doorstep by the time a lot of moving pieces of it get enacted. And so you won't see the implications of these policies for like the next 15, 20 years, if at all. So, no, it's terrible. It's trash.
Right, and I think what's really interesting is that the most important things that come out of it aren't really necessarily inflation, you know what I'm saying, based directly tied to. Because like I think the concept that they tried to run with is, well, these are ways that we can put money back in people's pockets, or these are ways that we can keep money in people's pockets, right?
It really, it's also to be noted that it's
play on words
of the build back the BBB plan. Like it is
build back better.
Yeah, it's like a Frankensteinian, like a Frankenstein altered component of what they couldn't get past. They took some pieces off of it, slapped it together, and called it a new bill and a new package, and just named it some shit. So, sure.
Now, with it not really, because even it's important to note that the Congressional Budget Office, which is a bipartisan organization within government that's made up of economists, flat out says that the Inflation Reduction Act will have a negligible impact on inflation. Let's just get that out there. However, what I believe is the most important aspect of it, and I think it's kind of slept on, you know what I'm saying, was prescription drug price reform, right? So with the Inflation Reduction Act, it will allow Medicare to negotiate the price of prescription drugs, something that was actually a large place of contention. And I think it was about 10 years ago when they were expanding Medicare, and so now they were able to get it passed that the government can negotiate with prescription drug companies to bring down prices for prescription drugs. There's also a $2,000 cap on annual out-of-pocket prescription drugs costs, but that doesn't start till 2025. And it also creates a $35 cap on insulin, right? Which in certain places, in certain points in time, it was $225 a vial that people was paying for insulin. And so I think that's the most important thing that came out of it. What I think is alarming that came out of it, and I want to get y'all thoughts on this. They beefing up the IRS and tax enforcement. I'm talking about to the point where they you have to carry a gun and all of that type of, you know what I'm saying, that type of stuff.
Yeah, why is the IRS to carry a gun?
And I'm gonna say this real quick, and I want to get y'all thoughts. I think that they are doing this that they're beefing up the IRS to go after people who got PPP loans. I think that that people think they got away with certain things, but I think that they're going to crack down on people who got loans. They're going to start flagging loans that they find suspicious given a certain criteria that they are creating. You know what I'm saying? And so it's going to be a bunch of people who are going to get their loan and their IRA, the EIN, and all that flagged based on certain factors for when they set up their PPP loan. And so I think they beefing up the IRS to start going after people who possibly frauded, who they feel like frauded the government. George, anything specifically that stood? Oh yeah, what's y'all thoughts on that, real quick?
I think it's sad.
Super sad.
What it represents is when we saw this across the board in the pandemic, where a lot of programming was missing, And then when a lot of programs were introduced, they were so poorly run, the infrastructure was so poor that it created more problems than it actually solved, right? I saw time and time again, whether it was testing or whether it was just a variety of things with COVID, various countries had systems set up to respond to the needs of people, to deal with what was happening in a lot of their major industries, and to like really kind of reconcile these issues. Instead, the United States, in true United States fashion, just threw some money out there. It was like, we'll just give it to you niggas and then come really mess up your life on the back end. And I think that that is a gotcha and a trap that is just really kind of disgusting when you think about it, because it created an opportunity for people who were, you know, helpless, a lot of times homeless, a lot of times really worried about the future and what it looked like. So they made a lot of rash decisions, and everybody knows you don't play with the federal government, right? That's what people always say. But I think it put and preyed on individuals who really didn't have a good idea about what a future could hold, and took advantage and lured, you know, held a carrot in front of their face and took advantage of the fact that they was going to go for it.
Most definitely.
So now you gonna have some of the worst outcomes on a criminal, on a federal crime level that we've probably ever seen ever. But I blame the people who set up the system for it to be kind of manipulated like that.
Yeah, because most of the whole bunch of people that was able to celebrate getting $20,000 of the PPP loan gonna be the main ones that's probably convicted to the, you know what I'm saying, tried and convicted to the highest extent of the law. Yeah. Meanwhile, all of the millionaires and all the billionaires and already got forgiven for all their little millions of dollars they got for PPP. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what they said there for. I know when it comes to the Inflation Act, though, me being in social media, a lot of the nonprofits that I work with, they try to do like the building green and stuff like that. That's the parts of the Inflation Act bill that they highlighted. And without saying too much, I thought that part was bullshit too. Just like, hold on now, you're gonna give the companies that already is dumping all the, you know what I'm saying, the CO2 and dumping all the oil and dumping out like all the companies that are currently implicated within the status quo for fucking up all the pollution. You're gonna give them an economic incentive to go green. Yeah. And you think that that's not a conflict of interest at all? All right, bet. Then you said you're gonna be able to create this many green jobs by this, you know what I'm saying, by this time in this way. So is you subtracting the green jobs away from the jobs that's taken away from the other jobs? And listen, I'm not one of the guys that's like, man, we gotta be fracking oil because that's what pays the bills. I ain't saying that, but it's like when you quantify these numbers and you saying that the Inflation Act gonna bring billions of jobs by this year, it's like, is that in addition to the jobs you just took away? You know what I'm saying? And then the part that I know a lot of, you know, green tech companies just trying to really push was the part about, you know, being able to reduce the light bill for everyday Americans. And it's just like that number wasn't number put on there. You just said
negligible.
Very speculative.
I can't click on it. My bad. What'd you say, Lee?
It was just a like a lot of it was based off of speculation. You feel me? In terms of the green part, like in terms of the, you know, we gonna get solar panels and get all these jobs. It was very, to me, like speculative.
Yeah.
Nothing definite.
Which, I mean, we can't agree on as a country on how we feel about energy and how we should deal with those things. That's a huge split and a large line item for, you know, Republicans or conservatives and liberals anyway. And so to make those promises without even having huge parts of the country on board with them just sounds like a reach and a stretch either way. If y'all could go, because I'm not signed in, can y'all go to Kristen Williams' comment about the IRS, which I think is pretty representative of kind of what we was getting at? They said, what happened to the IRS? The IRS admitted that they go after poor people in audits because they don't have the manpower or time to go after wealthy people, because wealthy people fight and have more receipts. So it's possible they're beeping up the IRS to go after wealthy people in general, isn't it? And I don't disagree with that. Survey says that's not how it's going to play. And I think that there might be a few corporations or a few wealthy people or entities that kind of get held accountable for those things. But I doubt that those, like what the plug is saying is that they're going to go and look at loans that have already been forgiven and scrutinize them even more closely. But I guarantee a lot of these public politicians who had issues, for example, with student loans being forgiven, but who also got PPP loans forgiven, right? They're not about to go rummage through their stuff to figure out if they really deserve forgiveness for the $400,000 worth of loans that they got. They're going to let them be. They're not going to deal with that, right? Because of the reasons that you pointed out. It is more likely than not that they're going to spend the time bothering and toiling with somebody who, and this is what always perplexes me, does not have the capacity to pay them back. So we'll be criminalized for life and not really have access to much of anything after the fact. We'll go and make sure that they get ran through the mud. And that's the weirdest thing to me. Like, why would you terrorize people who you know can't pay you back instead of going and getting the money from people who have the $400 to give back to you? They have the $2,000.
And while I think Christine's point is or Kristen, I apologize if I got that wrong. That could be a valid point though. But I think given the circumstances when it comes to policing in this country, I think it's imperative for Black people to know, the trends and recognize that when people start cracking down on shit, niggas usually get the the worst of that.
The commander comment too. I think that's a good one to kind of also add to what we're saying. I work for a CPA. And the IRS likes to audit the poor because they end up on payment plans. That accumulation of cash flow is far better than going after the rich, right? And so you have a lot of predatory individuals that end up getting in the way. Like, y'all hear radio commercials. Are you in trouble with the IRS? Well, come on down and talk to. So you know what I'm saying? Now that's even a bigger money grab for people who want in on how the IRS plays out. Not to mention that the IRS is full of shit because, bruh, all my information go to you. You tell me how much I owe you. You tell me what, but instead they force us.
You can still get it wrong though, right? Like you can still get it wrong.
Yeah, and they say put us in position to have to do things that they should be doing to have the great gotcha, the great aha moments, to kind of set you up for failure. And that's what I mean when I say the system itself, the infrastructure itself is just it's terrible. It's terrible that they're getting more money to be terrible. It's terrible that they have the ability to extend PPP loans. It's just trash.
The last point about PPP loans before we get to this last story, because I still want to make sure we get to this last shot for the night.
My laptop going. I feel like I'm delayed all up. My energy low. I want to have all the energy for the topic that we have. But look, good questions.
Yeah. So So we'll close it out on this last part of the political chop. But Andre Tyler said they've upped the investigation to 10 years to catch the PPP loans stolen or defaulted on in due time. I promise you that. That was something that made again, made people think that, okay, maybe this is, they getting ready to go after people. And so they're giving themselves more time to investigate them even after this, the things are taking place. So that is important to note with that. But let's hope they just going after rich people. Our government isn't known to just go after rich people. You know what I mean? But hey, we'll see, right? The last thing, and I guess this will be the last kind of conversation for the night. Herschel Walker. Football legend. Heisman winner. I think he ain't the only player to win the Heisman twice.
Suffering from like early set CTE.
Hold on, George. Hold on.
His accolades. We're talking about his accolades before we get to his issues.
Right. Herschel Walker, football legend, Georgia Bulldog. I think he was like the only person to win the Heisman twice. Running for Senate against Reverend Raphael Warnock.
Tim Tebow didn't win a couple times.
Tebow didn't win it twice. Did he? Nah, bro. We'll talk about that some other time.
Either way.
Was cool with Donald Trump, USFL. Donald Trump actually drafted him to his football league, and then that collapsed, and he became a not Denver Bronco, but a Dallas Cowboy.
That was cool with Donald Trump. Still is cool with Donald Trump. Still be on Donald Trump. Still is all on Donald Trump. You know what?
Right. I mean, he the reason. Donald Trump is the reason why Herschel Walker is considered a viable candidate. Right. The first thing I want to ask y'all, actually, before I actually get into asking the question, I want to just show y'all a clip of what Herschel Walker has been on, as he's been on this campaign thing. It's upsetting, you know what I'm saying? But let's get to it, man. Let's take a look at Herschel, see what he got to say while he's on the campaign trail.
Maximize that thing.
Let's go CNN. All right.
Lois Parker said too many hits on the head. I love that. Actually, something. I'm looking for any explanation for why Herschel Walker is the way that he is. But it also does not explain Christian Walker, because Christian Walker has not been hit on the head at all, as far as we know. He ain't got no good sense either. That's his son. So neither no love for none of the Walker family around here.
Yeah, they got to get their ass doing this. Shout out to CNN,
Absolutely.
Verizon. Make y'all money real quick.
Scooby Snacks, who've been cracking me up in the comments all night, by the way. I gotta say that. Said this man can't even read the Bible right. He up there misquoting Jesus and shit. And I love that because I know it's the facts. Oh man.
I misquoting Jesus.
All right, but here go the clip, right? We up?
Yeah, we up.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's not playing.
Could y'all hear it though?
Nah. Can't hear it or see
All right. So long story short,
yeah.
Herschel Walker was having a conversation about the Green New Deal or the green aspects of these what the Democrats was introducing, and he went on this tangent about good air and bad air, and he was like, America has the cleanest air in the world. And they want us to clean up China air so China can move their bad air to America, and then they get our good air. Okay, that's literally like an actual statement made by a Senate candidate for a position of United States. You know what I'm saying? Congress. Sure. With that being said, does Herschel Walker destroy the myth that black people only vote for other black politicians because they black?
Shit. I feel like Herman Cain and goddamn Candace Owens and goddamn Sheriff. I feel like it was already black conservatives that already kind of showed that, but I feel like definitely Herschel Walker kind of put the nail in the coffin. Put him in the coffin.
I mean, it makes it easier. Who was that? Issa said, I'm rooting for everybody who's black, and I'm just really, really not. And I think I sleep well at night understanding that. I agree with and support the idea of black achievement, black excellence, black greatness, and whatever that comes to. But it's very much a case-by-case scenario with me. And Herschel Walker is not one of those cases.
Poor little team.
I ain't rocking with it at all.
So the last question before we get up out of here.
Yeah.
It's been a lot, like even y'all, right? Like people talking about a lot of hits over their head. It's a lot of questions. Like a lot of people questioning his intelligence.
Sure.
Right. And now we know in the media, culturally, black people have always had to deal with the assumption that we're not as smart as our white counterparts for racism, right? Even though we feel how we feel about Herschel Walker, is it racist to challenge that man's intelligence and talk about how ridiculous and dumb and idiotic he sounds on the airwaves, cable news, talking heads? Is it racist to hear them constantly go in on his intelligence?
No.
Nope. I think that there could be a way they could be racist. So they were quantifying like his perspective, his lack of, critical thinking to his race. But I don't think they do that though. I think that, he's just a dumbass. I think that there are much more palatable ways for black people to be Republican than what Herschel Walker tries. I think there are much more persuasive ways to be full of shit. You feel me? The way that Herschel Walker is. You know what I'm saying? Then
I think a prime example is Candace Owens, right? Nobody looks at her as like she's stupid.
Nobody.
Or like
I like that anyway.
Stupid. Like I think the unintelligence comes from everything she's saying and her powers being used for evil and not for good, right? It's rooted in a lot of terrible Republican and conservative talking points that then that don't make sense. And so the fact that you're parroting them is the only thing that forces you to question her intelligence. But in terms of how she speaks, how she conjures up her messages, sometimes it's like, if you weren't full of shit, you would have had me there, right? I've had those moments where I'm like, Candace Owens, if I didn't know that the sky was blue and the grass was brown, I think you might be onto something. But this is stupid. This is asinine for a litany of reasons. Let me go ahead and get you together. But I think the reason that she's had the attractiveness that she has is that, you know, her delivery, the way she speaks, the way that she delivers, like nobody's gonna sit there and be like she's stupid. They're just gonna be like, I really, really disagree with her. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think there are better ways to go about. Like Lee said, there's a better way to package and deliver what you got going on.
I
supposed to give.
I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Like, listen. I think Herschel Walker sounds like a damn fool every time he speak. This man got up there and said, "Ain't nobody gonna be watching our debate on this day. They're gonna be watching football this Sunday. The debate was on Thursday." It's like, bro,
I was like, man, you wilding, bro.
And this is the thing. Herschel Walker is running a terrible campaign, but he's really only within 3 or 4 points. I think, like if that, of Raphael Warnock, which is given, you know, statistical error, a room for error, like that, like it's like a dead heat. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I
see some people piecing out. We on the way out too, but good night to y'all. If y'all leave a little bit early, my bad, plug.
I just feel like even though like he be sounding like a damn fool, sitting like watching the media just like kind of get down on this man intelligence like this, like I can't. It feels racist, like regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that.
But I think it's because, you know, we still hold so much baggage of finally having people to make it, to finally have people get on a platform, to finally have people occupy those seats. And so it's very easy to feel like he's speaking for me or representing me, or people who will watch him will kind of project what they walked away from and put it on me. And so it's cringy to watch, not because you don't think he a fool too, but largely because there's this convoluted kind of wrap up in there where we feel like that projection that we see, the stupidity that they're acknowledging, that they'll project on us at some later date, right? Or that they must think that's how they think we all are. That's why we get embarrassed when people are not being all respectable in the store, or people walk around with their bonnets, is that then it becomes the fear of association. And that even though it's something you wouldn't do, that other people who see it are going to associate those behaviors with you and, you know, discredit you or you lose your credibility because of it. And so it's that secondhand embarrassment that, you know, it's just kind of hard to unplug from, just because somebody, your skin folk is up there looking foolish. It's hard to divorce yourself from it.
With that, the last one I want to make about Herschel Walker is, and Scooby pointed this out. He said, no, he's a political plant. He didn't want to even run. Trump made him. He's not qualified for the job, and it's kind of scary if you think about it. I mean, the man has dissociative disorder, for God's sake. He has had public bouts of mental health. There was a situation with his ex-wife where he pointed out where it was a domestic violence situation where he did have to receive mental, you know what I'm saying, treatment. And so, you know, especially at a time when we talk about how important it is to pay attention to mental health and the significance of having those conversations specifically for Black men, you know, it's a fine line. And he says a lot of things I disagree with. He says, I think he's extremely dangerous because he is like a political plant.
I don't think he ever said anything I ever agreed with, unless he said like everyone on the stage, like we should drink water.
Yeah,
or like we need to like eat good or some shit like that.
I ain't never.
I don't think I ever noticed him say something since he's been a politician that I agree with. Like,
man, I feel you, but you know, it's still kind of racist when MSNBC be sitting there going on. He sounds ridiculous. He's just so. We don't know. He's nonsensical.
He did the same thing with Donald Trump. Like the same thing happened. Those same liberal news sources sat and lambasted and accosted and it was looked and mocked a lot of the same things he said when he made those mistakes. And so I just think you are fair game and fair fodder if you are silly. And I think, like Lee said, it's always like, let me see exactly how you're doing this, because there could be slippages that have racial undertones. I just haven't heard of anything that I disagree with. So all
right, fair enough. I mean, hey, but the conversation had to be had, right? So, with that being said, you go ahead and close this out, Lee. That's the political chop.
Yeah, man. Hey, next week, man, I'll be getting into can you be pro-Black and be married to, sleep with, reproduce with non-Black people? We're gonna be getting into the history of our leaders.
Repeatedly. Yeah. Next week, we're gonna be talking about what now?
next week we're gonna be talking about pro-black leaders, quote unquote. Can you be a pro-black leader and be married to and reproduce or be intimate with non-black people? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be going about some people in history that has been, quote unquote, I feel like seen as being pro-black, but they were married to people that wasn't black. So, we're gonna just be kind of asking that question.
So we already got it. Look, Miss Maya just said hell no.
Tyler said
hell yeah. So come, let's break it down. Let's
you see why I need to have my energy up. You know,
but y'all don't get to going now. Save all them comments, all them opinions, all them takes for next week. Don't waste them now because we want them all. But we're gonna come back and talk to y'all, and then we are going to, of course, have a couple other topics. We're gonna see what's unfolding around us throughout the week. We're gonna prep a little bit on it, gets us moving forward. But y'all have heard about the Black woman therapist. We have heard about, and we even learned about her. Her last name is Therapist Rawls. We're gonna call her Therapist Rawls because I forgot her first name.
Cabri Rawls.
Yes. So we got into that. We also talked about kind of these chess pieces moving with the plug in terms of what they look like for these elections. So we back. We in the building. Fall is here. Y'all know we're gonna do our thing until it's time for another break for winter break. And so until then, class is back in session. Education has always been elevation. We are always gonna be chopped up, never really gonna be slopped up. So we just invite y'all to pull back up on a Thursday night and see what we do.
Hey, look, and Lee gonna have a little bit more practice with these sounds. It's gonna get it there. He's gonna be like DJ Clue dropping them bombs. But I guess Charlemagne says Clue's bombs, so we're gonna have to come up with our own Lee's bombs, conscious bombs, something like that. Either way, we're gonna end the show same way we start the show. We holla at y'all next week.
In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto. Me, my guys, we really live. Lord, forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside, and that's in the console. Keep the semi when I